Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, our group will present about hire purchase car financing by Contract AITAB by Affin Bank. So, presenter number one will be me, Haaziq Akib Matiin, on the introduction and conclusion. Presenter number two will be Sheik Adib on the issues about AITAB. Presenter number three will be Najuan on the scholars' opinion about this issue. And presenter number four will be Firdaus on the modification or the improvement of this contract. Surah An-Nisa verse 29 means that believers do not divorce one other's position wrongfully. Rather than that, let there be trading by mutual consents. You shall not kill yourself. Surely Allah is ever compassionate to you. So we will back for this verse later. As we all know, Malaysia is a country that live harmony and peacefully, even with the combination of various ethnic, religion, and custom. So of course, this is one of the challenges for us to implement halal and Sharia compliance or Sharia-based transaction in our daily life. So even with that reason, every businessman must try to implement halal based on the verse mentioned, because halal transaction will bring a lot of benefit for us and customer. The demand of Islamic product in banking are increasing day by day. So based on Islamic Banking Act 1988, the term Islamic banking business refer to a banking operation whose goals and activity do not include any elements that are not sanctioned by Islam. So basically, there are many Islamic products offered or provided in banking in Malaysia. So one of them is Murabahah, Musyarakah, Mudarabah, Al-Wadi'ah, Al-Wakalah, Al-Kafalah. And today's topic and we want to focus is Al-Ijarah Summa Al-Bai or AITAB, that is the Islamic hire purchase product that exists about 10 years ago. So AITAB consists two akad, that is the contract of lease Al-Ijarah and the contract of sale Al-Bai. To be simplified, AITAB is a contract of leasing with a promise to sell the asset. Basically, AITAB used to buy a vehicle or motorcycle. So however, Al-Ijarah Summa Al-Bai or AITAB in Malaysia facing several issues due to its practice that is a little bit different from what it should be. So Sheik will explain more and detail about this issue.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sheik Muhammad Adib bin Sheik Rahim, and I will present about the issues regarding the topic for our group. But first, let's see the verse from Al-Quran. Wa ahallallahu al-bay'a wa harama riba, which means, but Allah has permitted trading and forbidden interest. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 275. Next, I will explain about Al-Ijarah Thumma Al-Bay' or AITAB. We know Allah allow trading between people, but Allah prohibit excess profit or what we can call riba. That's why financing using conventional method is prohibited because of the riba. Next, the basic meaning of ijarah is the contract to use the usufruct of a permissible thing for a known counter value. Al-ijarah or leasing as a stand-alone contract is not a suitable alternative to conventional hire purchase, which hire and then the customer will own the asset. An alternative for conventional hire purchase, which is al-ijarah thumma al-bay', that means leasing ending with a sale. AITAB is a leasing contract that gives an option for the lessee to buy the asset. Al-ijarah contract comes with full maintenance of the asset from the owner. You must remember it's fundamental until the end of my presentation. There are two types of usufruct in al-ijarah, which are usufruct of property or capital asset and usufruct of labor, employment, and services. Therefore, there are two contracts involved, which are exchange of usufruct for money and later comprises of the exchange of goods for money. Which means the first is leasing and the second is contract of sale. Next, the ITAB that being implemented by Islamic banking and our group focus on Affin Bank. First, the process is the seller or the dealer sells the demanded vehicle by the customer to the bank. Second, the bank owns the vehicle by paying the full amount of the car. Next, the customer pay the down payment, usually 10% and above. Depends on how the customer can pay it. Next, but the payment, not just the payment for the vehicle, but also the responsibility to pay the road tax every year, insurance coverage every year before road tax and maintenance if anything happens. D or 4, the dealer delivers the car to customer after the agreement and pay. Fifth, the bank hires the car to the customer. And last, the customer needs to fulfill the agreement by paying the installment. Next, the similarities and differences between Affin Bank and conventional hire purchase. The similarities is first, type of goods, and major of the type of good in hire purchase, not just in Islamic but also conventional, is usually vehicle, because everyone cannot pay the full payment of the car with cash basis. So this is the type of contract that can be used to own a car using installment method. Second, period of financing. In Islamic and conventional hire purchase, there are no specific period of financing. So they can go from 5 years until 9 years. Third, early settlement. In both contract, the customer can make an early settlement whether to end 1 year early or maybe further. Next, insurance responsibility that under higher responsibility. Remember the fundamental that I tell you to remember before this, and the differences. The governing law that be implemented for both contract, profit of margin because of the interest of floating in the conventional and fixed in ITAB, and calculation of installment that's being agreed in the contract. I think that's all from me. The explanation of the issue and how we think that this can be solved will be presented by the next presenter. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Najuan and I'm going to present on the scholar's opinion on ITAB. Okay, in related to this issue, ITAB consists of two contracts that have been combined together, which are Al-Ijarah, which is the lease contract, and also Al-Bay, which is the sales contract. So, can these two contracts be implemented together? Okay, let's go through each and one of these contracts. So, the first one is Al-Ijarah, which is also known as the sales of usufruct. So, this means that the sales of manfaah from the seller to the buyer. So, some scholars have an issue regarding this kind of contract. They say that it is not permitted to be implemented because the object is not be seen during the contract is being made. So, if we give an example, if we rent a house, the house itself is not be transferred the ownership to the buyer, but it's just that the buyer can can enjoy the manfaah of using that house. But however, some also have agreed that this kind of contract is permissible. This is because they said that the manfaah itself can be seen, whereby the renter uh, can enjoy the manfaah from using the house, where they can be protected from the weather or any dangerous threats, such as prevent them from being in an accident and whatnot. So the next contract is al-bay', which is the sales contract. And obviously, this kind of contract is permissible to be done. And it is most common thing that is being done not just in Malaysia but all over the world. And besides, the contract of sales also consists of many kinds of contract of sales. For example, bay'us salam and bay'us istisna. Bay'us salam is the online sales, and the bay'us istisna is the sales that need to be manufactured the object. So in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 275, A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim wa ahallallahu al-bay' wa harrama riba. It means that and Allah has permitted sales and prohibited riba. So this verse has completely or clearly stated that in Islam, sales contract is obviously permitted and permissible to be implemented by all of the Muslims around the world. However, is the contract of AITAB is permissible to be implemented in the Islamic region? So, according to the Shafi'i scholars, AITAB or Al-Ijrah Thumma Al-Bay' contract is not permissible to be done because it involves the combination of two contracts, which are Al-Ijrah and Al-Bay'. However, according to the Maliki scholars, this kind of contract is permissible because it's actually not being implemented together or even be combined together, but it have been conducted separately and have been done according to the sequence, whereby it starts with al-ijara contract and then it ends with al-bay' contract. So in this issue, the ITAB in the bank, it starts with the car itself has been rent to the customers, and the customers need to pay monthly to the bank, and then until the maturity dates have been reached, the customer will pay for amount of 1 ringgit to the bank, and this 1 ringgit have been illustrated that the car have been transferred its ownership towards the customer, and this shows that the car itself has been buy by the customer from the bank. So I think that is all from me. Wallahu alam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Firdaus Ismail. So for this video presentation, I'm gonna cover the topic regarding of modification and recommendation for ITAB model. As we can see that the ITAB model have raised a lot of issue, okay, regarding of this kind of model. So the issue have been discussed in the previous video. So for this video, we'll come up with modification and recommendation for the ITAB model. So based on our research, okay, finding and reading from the article and from the journal from the internet, we came up with solution. One of the solution is by making a new ITAB model. So this is the 6 ITAB model features that we can come up with that we believe will make the ITAB model more flexible and more Sharia compliant. So the first one is during period of leasing, the bank as a lessor must fully recognize the ownership. The full recognition must include the recording the asset in the bank balance sheet. So the bank, okay, in this case, or the lessor must keep all the document regarding of the asset. The next is the lessor, okay, should bear all the cost, risk, and reward related to the ownership. Okay, this include the maintenance cost, regular services, and takaful contribution. Okay, the lessor here is the bank, so the bank should bear all the costs, okay, related to the ownership of the asset. Okay, in this case, such as car and others. Next is lessee will be liable to the cost that directly related to the usage of the asset. So lessee here means the customer, okay, will liable to the cost that that directly relate to the usage of assets, such as the fuel cost, okay, car wash and toll. Okay, that's all of that is must be paid by the lessee. Okay, the next is lessee is also liable for any cost incurred as a result of his or her negligence or mistake, For example, like fine for speeding on the highway, so or an accident based because of his own negligence, because of intoxication, because of drunk. So leasee should pay by his own. Okay. And next is the transfer of ownership at the end of the lease period should not be bilaterally contract at the offset to avoid the issue of combining contract. So to put it in another way, the other party will have the option of exercising or not exercising, means that the customer by the end of the contract can have the option whether he want to purchase the asset or not. Okay. Next is the when a lessee is unable to pay the rental charge, the item must be returned to the lessor and the ijarah contract must be terminated. So if the lessee, okay, he refused to return the item with a true intention, okay, the lessor may take the appropriate step, okay, to reclaim the item because the item is still the asset is still under the ownership of the lessor. Okay. Okay, even though we came up with the features, however, there's some critique, okay, that been said for this new ITAB model. Okay, however, we came up with the answer for this kind of critique. So the first critique is this derivative too far from the bank primary duty as a financial organization. However, we need to bear in mind that it's important to recognize that Islamic bank play a far larger role than regular banks, and implementing ijarah and equity-based contract like mudarabah and Murabaha immediately expand its activity beyond what a typical bank would undertake. So this not become a problem, okay, for the bank. And then critic also says that this additional cost will make Islamic ijarah less competitive than traditional hire purchase. So this all new novel ITAB, okay, must be considered as a whole unique concept, not just a variation on the norm. And not to mention that the conventional is unable to supply numerous value added or service, just like the new ITAB render. So the new ITAB is more superior than the traditional hire purchase or the conventional hire purchase. Next, critique that we come up with the lessee may feel less connected to the property, which could lead to reckless conduct. So, however, I would like to say that knowing that the car would eventually, okay, be owned by the lessee by the end of the contract, so the lessee may be mitigate, okay, to the negative impact. So he will take care of the asset carefully, because by the end of the contract he will purchase the asset. Next, another suggestion is this risk may be considerably decreased by appropriate fleet management and control, as well as the properly draft contract between the lessor and the lessee. So the lessor can come up with a new contract that states that the lessee must responsible for the asset. Okay, I think that's gonna answer this kind of critique question. So in conclusion, what can I say is that even though this new ITAB model is not a perfect, okay, model, okay, however, we hope that with this modification and this suggestion that we came up to promote this new ITAB model, we hope that this ITAB model will be more Sharia compliant and can be more accepted, okay, by all the people, okay, in the future. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
So in conclusion, as we can see, Islamic hire buy has certain advantages and disadvantages. Certain practices of the ITAB by Affin Bank seems a little bit different with the true ITAB or what it should be. For example, the responsibility to pay insurance and any kind of damages and services for the car or any vehicle should be the bank. So the implementation of the right and true practices of ITAB is very important for us as a Muslim to ensure the barakah in the transaction and not only aim for the profit. So every Islamic banking in Malaysia should implement the true and right. They are properly according to the Sharia law, not only for the ITAB product, but also to the all type of Islamic products that provide to the customer. I think that's all from us. Thank you very much.